All right, let's talk about one of the trickiest parts of learning Spanish grammar. But don't worry, I'm going to show you a really simple visual trick that's going to make it stick in your head forever. Let's dive right in. So you've been practicing, right? You're learning the regular verb endings, you're starting to feel pretty confident, and then, bam, a verb like dormir suddenly turns into duermo. It can feel so random and honestly a little frustrating, but I promise you, there's a secret pattern hiding in plain sight. And that pattern is the key to everything. We're going to be talking about a special group of verbs that people call boot verbs. And trust me, once you see the boot, you will never be able to unsee it. Okay, so the official kind of nerdy name for these is stem-changing verbs. Now, every verb has two parts, right? You've got the stem and you've got the ending. With these particular verbs, it's the vowel in the stem that does a little flip. For the ones we're looking at today, that O in the stem is going to change to a UE. So why on earth do we call them boot verbs? Well, it's pretty literal, actually. If you map out all the different forms of the verb, the ones that change create you guessed it, a very specific shape. You've got to see it to believe it. And now it's time for the big reveal. We are going to find this famous boot because as soon as you see it, I'm telling you, a light bulb is going to go on. So here we have the verb dormir, which means to sleep. Just take a look at this chart for a second. Do you see it? Notice where that stem changes from O to UE, and, more importantly, where it stays exactly the same. Okay, here it is. This is the whole trick. If you draw a line around all the forms where the stem actually changes, so you go around yo, tú, él, ella, and then hook it down to include ellos, ellas, what do you get? It looks just like a boot. That's it. That's the secret. So the golden rule is this. If the subject is inside the boot, the stem changes. If it's outside the boot, which, by the way, is always going to be nosotros and vosotros, the stem does not change. It just stays a regular O. It's really that simple. And listen, this isn't some weird, obscure rule you'll never use. This pattern applies to a ton of super common verbs you'll use every single day. Verbs like poder, volver, encontrar, they all play by this exact same boot rule. Okay, so seeing the pattern is one thing, but how do you actually conjugate these verbs yourself? Let's break it down into a really simple formula you can use every time. It really just comes down to 4 easy steps. First, you start with your verb, let's say dormir. Second, you chop off that ER ending to get the stem, dorm. Now, step 3 is the magic question. Is my subject in the boot? If the answer is yes, you change that O to UE. And finally, step 4, you just add the regular old present tense ending you already know. That's the whole process. Now, this is so important to remember. Do not get fancy with the endings. They are the same reliable endings you use for any normal verb. The only thing that's changing is that one little vowel swap in the stem. All right, enough of me talking. The absolute best way to make this stuff stick is to actually do it. So let's test your new boot verb skills with a couple of quick questions. Ready? First one up. How would you fill in this blank to say, I sleep 8 hours? The verb is dormir, the subject is yo, so is yo inside or outside the boot? And the answer is duermo. Of course it is. Yo is right there at the top of the boot, so that stem has to change from O to UE. Nicely done. Okay, how about this one? We tell the story. The verb is contar, and your subject is nosotros. Think back to that chart. Where does nosotros live? It's contamos. See? Nosotros is always hanging out outside the boot, which means the stem doesn't change at all. It just stays a regular O. Perfect. Let's try a little multiple choice. The verb is poder, which means to be able to. How would you conjugate that for vosotros? Would it be A, podéis, or B, puedéis? Come on, you know the rule. Where is vosotros? You got it. The correct answer is A, podéis. Just like nosotros, vosotros is always outside the boot, so there's absolutely no stem change. Great job. Okay, final practice question. Let's do a full translation this time. The verb for to remember is recordar, and yep, it's a boot verb. So how would you say, she remembers my name? And the answer is, ella recuerda mi nombre. Why? Because ella is totally inside the boot, so that O in recordar has to become a UE. You are really getting the hang of this. You did an awesome job with that. Seriously. Let's just do a super fast recap of the main rules so they get locked into your brain for good.
So here it is, the whole thing in a nutshell. For these verbs, the stem vowel O flips to UE. This only happens inside that special boot shape, which means it affects every single form except for nosotros and vosotros. And don't forget, those verb endings, they stay completely regular. You've totally got this.
So there you have it. You've mastered the pattern. The secret is yours. The only question left is, which one of these awesome boot verbs are you going to try and use in a conversation today? Thanks so much for watching.